Well, hello, everyone. I am Jessie Bowen. I'm here today with Kevin Wilson. We are, of course, martial artists, but we're also life coaches. And I want to thank everyone for coming in and being a part of the AMAA, the Legacy Weekend. We had this event in Las Vegas, and we had a lot of people show up. We had a lot of fun, and some people didn't make it to the event, but they're still featured in our book. We wanted to make sure that we showed them the respect that they deserve by hosting an online program, giving them the opportunity to be introduced. We're going to be talking about the book, a lot of really good things going on. If you had not already seen the book, then here's a copy of it. Again, this is the AMAA Legacy book. This is volume number 11. So we have different classes, going on. I hope you've already attended some of the classes. So we wanted to bring you something a little bit different, but this is a part of what we did in Vegas. And I have Grandmaster Kevin Wilson with us, and he did an amazing seminar in Las Vegas. And we've been trying to figure out, okay, what can we do together? We have a certain chemistry that we have going on. He's in the coaching business. I'm in the coaching business. He's an author. I'm an author. So we got all these things. We have all this information. So we decided that we would take an opportunity and really try to bring some of these things together into a special program. And when we think about a special program, we wanted to talk about something that we can connect with, because when we're coaching, of course, I'm a corporate coach. He's a business coach. So it depends on who we're talking to, depends upon our message. So we have so many things that we can do. And right now, as we are dealing with economy and all those other things, we don't want you to become a victim of it. So we decided to do something today, and the program is titled The Black Belt Blueprint to Wealth and Freedom. So that's a really big topic. So Kevin, hey, welcome, man. I'm excited about having the opportunity for us to really sit down and do something big. And this title here, this may be our 2026 book.
Yeah, you never know. I love the topic. It's an honor to be here. I just love talking about. It's funny you say that. In Vegas, I really had the blend of two worlds, because I've had my martial arts career, my business coaching and finance teaching career, but they've always kind of been separate. So it was a really neat experience to have those kind of come together in one moment. So I love the topic, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, great. And so to give everyone a little update on where we're coming from, and I know many of you know me as, the guy from the American Martial Arts Alliance Foundation. Many of you know me from Elite Publications, but there's a lot of other things that I actually do. And one of those great things I've had the great opportunity to do is to be a corporate educator for Duke University in a business program, which is called Duke CE. They're actually rated as the #1 custom corporate training program in the world. And again, this is a part of Duke University. I was on staff at Duke for 29 years, and I've been a coach now for 12 years, and had a chance to travel around the world to do seminars for Nike, Raytheon, American Express, and other different, Fortune 500 companies. And, it's really about getting that study work. So, now as a publisher and running a publishing company, my focus is still the same thing. How do I become better? When I can become better, then I can help someone else. So Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you to sort of introduce and sort of give some background before we really kick off and get into what we're doing today.
Yeah, it's really what I kind of lead with as far as a kind of my own personal experience is when I graduated with my degree in business. I started a small staffing company, surgical staffing company with some partners, and different businesses I've done over the years with marginal successes. And this one really took off, did really, really, really well. But one interesting thing happened as we were running through that business is I finished my degree. So I put all my business training to work to make sure we were profitable, to make sure we were meeting payrolls, make sure we were tax allocated, everything we needed to do to be successful. But I took a look back and realized that me personally, I was really struggling financially, and I didn't understand why that was. And I realized it really came from a lack of education on personal finance in any way, shape, or form. So I really took it upon myself. One book I like to share is I read The Millionaire Next Door by Dr. Thomas Stanley and William Danko. It's a great book. Read many books, but I liked that one because they kind of had a net worth formula, and I kind of attached myself to that. Calculated my own net worth. I was 30 years old, and it was negative $14,000. And I just felt like that's not a position I should be in at 30. So I sat down with my wife, and we made a plan to be one of those millionaires next door. I said, we're going to set a 10-year goal. And after 10 years, through a lot of the processes that I now teach, we actually hit that $1 million net worth mark. That was at 40. And then at 50, we hit that multimillionaire net worth mark. But I love using a culmination of disciplines that I've learned in the martial arts and things I've learned in business and a great amount of stuff that I studied personally on how to have an effective change on my own personal financial situation. It's made a huge difference in my life, and I just feel compelled to share it with others as well. So that's what I do.
And I think that's really important. I know when I started in the martial arts, one of the first books my teacher gave me to read was Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. So it's really about continuing in fact, I lost a copy of it.
Oh, that's I don't know how many copies I've given away. I didn't even touch that book. It's brand new, but I've given so many away and lost them. So yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Well, I ordered one a couple of weeks ago, so I'm planning on giving it to my daughter as a Christmas gift.
Nice.
Something that you really need to read. And that's the whole part about becoming educated on all things, whether it's your martial arts, whether it's your business. And if you run a business, number one, you have to be focusing on wealth. Well, no, you don't have to. You don't have to. But if you run a business, then, that has to be at the top of your pyramid of thinking about, am I going to be, working 2 jobs and then put all my money into my martial arts school? Then it turns around, it's taking all my money and I don't have any money, left over. So, if you run a business, if you're going to call yourself a business owner, then you must have that part in there about your financial growth and wealth. So what we want to focus on our program today is focus on wealth and freedom through the martial arts mindset. Now, when we think about that, we really begin to think about, number one, we have the wealth part. Number 2 is that I'm not in struggle. That's what I call it. Now, when you are working or you run a business or a household and you don't have the financial support or income, then that's what I call stress. So you want to be stress-free by finding out how you can now have that mindset and to look at the freedom. And of course, as martial artists, we should be a discipline. Now, if I'm going to be a black belt, why not be the best black belt? If I'm going to do anything, why not be the best at it? So as, studying in the martial arts, having that chance to compete on international stages, having that opportunity to work hard, to learn that discipline. So now that you have that discipline, you can point it at any place that you want for it to be. And now you can have that discipline. And that's why we want to talk about that mindset of a martial artist. And of course, you become a part of your environment. If you, are hanging around people and finances is not one of the top things on their list, it probably won't be on yours. But if you're hanging around people and you want your life to grow and you want to be, prosperous, there's many things in life now, because it's not all about money, but your success in being prosperous can be prosperous in good health, prosperous in your relationship. So this same attitude can be produced in a lot of different things, we just happen to take that topic today, bringing it together about wealth. So Kevin, so why the martial arts mindset is a perfect foundation for building wealth and freedom?
Well, and you hit a lot on it, and that's discipline. For myself, even as you're saying that, I know for myself personally, I tell my students there's very few things that I do either physically or mentally that I don't attribute to my martial arts training in some way, shape, or form. I just think that if you're a really good martial artist, that's a natural overlap. And I think with wealth, it's the same thing. Discipline is a big part of it. It's very easy to, you can be a great martial artist, but if that's all you are, then I don't think you've really hit the martial arts code in the aspect of having the proper balance in your life. And as you said, wealth is part of that balance. Our family, our relationships, our health, those are all things that I actually even use in my definition of wealth, because you could have all the money in the world and still not be wealthy. You might be rich, but you're not wealthy. We talked about some of that in Las Vegas. We want to have that good balance. It's really serving the things that are important to us in our life, that's fulfilling us, with our health, with our spirituality, with our relationships, everything that we're doing. That's what wealth is. And it doesn't always take the amount of money that you think it needs to do that, but you need to use that money effectively to serve those things to make sure that you are wealthy.
Well, I'm asked a lot of times, why did you decide to open up a martial arts school? You wanted to, give your knowledge and teach the martial arts, which is everyone's dream. Well, I tell folks, no, no. I made a decision after achieving black belt. I've been teaching for many years for my teacher. I started teaching as a green belt, and I've been involved teaching ever since that time, pretty much every day, connected every day. And so I started martial arts because I wanted to make money.
Yeah.
So that's the truth. And I started in the martial arts because I was working as a general machinist for Rockwell International. And at that time, you're going back here into the 70s. If you made $7, $8 an hour, you're rich.
Oh yeah,
You're at the top of the line. I'm driving my 76 Monte Carlo with the chrome wheels, T-top. I'm 21, 22. And
right.
So, I'm hanging out. And my martial arts instructor, they just launched their professional program and signing people up on memberships. And I remember going in and, I didn't cash my paycheck. It wasn't that much, but it was a lot at that time. And they made $10,000 in 1 month. And I'm going, let me see, how many hours do I need to work to earn $10,000?
Yeah.
I'm going, this doesn't make sense. So again, I enrolled in their marketing program, the instructors program. I received a bachelor's in martial arts management, and the rest of it is history. But that's where it really starts, is that mindset of why, that why is that question, and finding a place you don't want to be in. So for me, that's always been the top of the list in growing my success and continue to educate, is to move from one place to another, because you cannot receive your opportunities. In the martial arts, as a martial arts school owner, we want to be able to share our knowledge with our students and make a difference in the world by being able to do that. So if you don't really have that, a plan, that's what it is. It's a plan. That's what the blueprint is to understand where you are and where you want to be, and how do I achieve these steps to be able to get there.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that's what, and that's the same thing I start even in my wealth stuff. You got to know your starting point. You got to know where you want to go. I'm a huge Stephen Covey fan as well. He talks about begin with the end in mind.
Mm-hmm.
These are real principles that we need to adapt in our financial well-being, as well as other things we've talked about. But it's interesting, something you said, you talked about wanting to make money teaching martial arts, but see, that's the beautiful thing, is when you get an opportunity to make money doing something you love, I hardly call it work. You know what I mean? Like, sign me up for work every day teaching martial arts. I love it. I love impacting people. Yeah, but we got to pay the bills, and we have to make sure. I grappled with it for a lot of years, but I finally came up with the word to be. We hear the word selfish, and we have a negative connotation to it. Say somebody's selfish, but we have a responsibility on some level to be selfish, because nobody's responsible for us except for us. And so we have to continue that growth model if we want to continue to grow as individuals and continue to allow others to grow and be impactful in their lives. We have to be a little bit selfish. So I coined the term selfless, and it's just a made up word that I did, but it just talks about giving yourself to be selfish for yourself in a positive way. Too many people like to give and give and give and give, and they never get any recognition or receive anything for that. No, I mean, they'll cut their arm off for you, which is great, but that's not healthy. Only when I'm at my best can I be at best service to somebody else. So it's something that we as martial artists need to, I think, continue, well, as people even, continue to keep an eye on, is that we can give ourselves permission to work on ourselves, to invest in ourselves, to grow ourselves, because we're really doing a service to the world then at that point. So,
well, to the world. And as leaders, the question is, do I want to help one person, or do I want to have a message that can help a lot of people? So that's really important. And as a martial artist, if I said I want to go and teach, what does that really mean? Is that one person, or is that many more? And I totally disagree with the concept. If someone is successful in their martial arts school and they have 300 students training with them, and John down the street, he has 10. So let's not tell everyone that the guy that has 300 has a Mac Karate school. What you need to do is really find out his trade. If you don't think his art is good, then make a deal. I'll teach you my good art. You teach me your good marketing.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So that's, now you can become partners.
Yeah.
You can now, so you develop a relationship. But this is the reason why when we think about, you got to have discipline. So if you're going to run a business or do anything, you have to have discipline. That is crucial. Then you have to have a structure. So in other words, you have to have a plan. You have to have goals. There's no accident. There's no accident. We're actually here talking together for Kevin and I. Now there's probably purpose, and that's the next thing. And then you got the structure. Then you have, what is your purpose? And then you take that purpose, and that's what Kevin and I are working on. Okay, we're hanging out together. Our lingo's about the same. And so, so we're going, okay, so what's our purpose? And then once we discover that, and the same thing you have with your martial arts school, you can now translate all of that into success. So think about it for a second. It doesn't matter. You don't have to. I know this is a martial arts program, but this is fundamental for anything that you're doing. You still have to have those ingredients. So if you get a chance, write this down. Number one, you've got to build a foundation. Okay, and that foundation has to be set on the discipline. I wrote a book this year, and I'm a minister. So I wrote a book this year, and the title of the book is Don't Procrastinate on God. So what does that mean? Well, it means that if you've got a good idea and you don't use it, then you're wasting a great opportunity. And you cannot get mad with the person down the street that comes up with that idea 3 weeks from now and claim they stole your idea. No, they were proactive and took the advantage of an idea, a concept. And once you begin to move forward on something, the doors of opportunity begins to open. But if you sit there and don't do anything, there's nothing that's going to happen. You're not going to be in that place. You're not going to be able to move forward. So remember, you have to have the discipline. You got to build a structure for your plans or whatever you want to do. And one of the key factors, what I call the jet fuel, is that you got to have purpose.
Mm.
If you don't have the purpose, then it doesn't matter if you achieve or you don't achieve, because purpose is what now translates into success. So, Kevin, let's introduce. Why don't you introduce the idea of one change? What is that about? I know that you had a great opportunity to work with Les Brown.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
Les Brown is my hero. So, I'm gonna let you take up. I do want to say this about it. Listen, I play in Jesse's world. So someone said, what does that mean? Well, that means I can transform and emulate other people. So in that process, I've watched pretty much every video on Les Brown. And so when I walk into Nike and I'm presenting, Jesse doesn't go to Nike.
Transform.
Les Brown goes to Nike.
Right.
So I know all of his gestures. I know what he's going to say. I know, and he's definitely one of my heroes. That's what finding someone you can emulate.
Sure.
That means that someone that has that thing that you want. I want to be a great coach. So who am I going to emulate? I'm going to emulate other great coaches. I just wanted to say that, about Les Brown, but that is a key part. Find a mentor, find someone that you can emulate their success. You don't necessarily have to invent it or create it, because someone else may already have it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then really work that into your own persona as well. My business partner and good friend, Dr. Ruben West, he worked with Les a lot, and they had a great relationship. And yeah, we actually, Dr. West and I, along with a few other colleagues, had authored a book called Change One Thing, and it's Take Your First Steps Towards Massive Success. And Les Brown wrote the foreword for it, and we were thrilled that he did that. We had 7 different topics. I wrote on personal finance, but there's, again, that balance of all the things that we all as humans struggle with, trying to figure out, how can I be a better father? How can I be a better brother? How can I be a better child? How can I be a better husband? How can I be a better wife? How can I be a better employee? How can I be a better business owner? And that doesn't always come down to money. It's lots of different things. And we all have the same struggles. And we all like to look out and think that everybody else has it figured out. We're our own worst critics at times. We look at ourselves and we go, man, why can't I do this? They've got it figured out, not knowing that maybe the person that you're looking at is struggling in ways you don't even know. So we always got to keep that lens on. But the change one thing aspect, for me, and I think I love principles, and I'm borrowing this from Covey, and that he has in his book, 7 Habits, he talks about the circle of influence and circle of concern. And I think that's powerful. If you want to change one thing, identify that there are things that are in your control and there's things that aren't in your control. And to sit around and focus on and give energy to or complain about the things that are not in your control is just a waste of time. I can't do anything about the price of gas. If I could, I would. That'd help us all out, but I can't. But I can maybe bike to work. I can maybe carpool. I can maybe get a more fuel efficient car. I can maybe work from home. There's all things I can do that are within my control to change how much I consume gas, but I can't change the price of gas. But you get in a circle and you find it. Everybody will be complaining about the price, but what good does that do it? So I think when we start to change our lens on that, change that one thing, look at things and say, you know what? I can't have any effect on this at all, but what can I have an effect on? I think that starts to really empower us and really, really allow real change to happen in our lives, whether it be in our finances or some of those other things that we talked about. So that's my one big thing. If you had to focus on anything, that's my one big change for me personally.
Well, and I think that's correct. And what we're trying to do on our opportunity to be on the AMAA Legacy event is to be able to share some things about, you may know these, Kevin and I, we know a lot about what each other's doing, but many people may not know what we actually do to make not only our lives better, but also to make the lives of others better. So, we are talking about basically, beyond money. So when you go beyond money, you have to go to your belief system. This is where it really this is where you really have to take a look at. So if you listen, listen to our program now or in the future, what's your belief about success? I wrote the audio program. This is an audio program, meditation, visualization. I'm a certified life coach. I'm a certified sports hypnosis coach. I'm a certified goal success coach, mindfulness coach, because I've been really trying to get in on the inside and fix Jessie. So
Right.
if I can't fix you unless I can fix, if I cannot fix little Jessie, then there's nothing I can tell you. I can't help you. So we want to think about, beyond money, because we have to go to our belief system. So think about that for a second. What is your belief system? I had someone tell me the other week, man, Jessie Bowen, he's just about the dollar. I don't know. See, you're being hurt by yourself because you're really looking at me and you forming a negative thing about me providing quality, quantity, helping people grow, helping people benefit, helping people become better. So your belief system is that, what I do is not good. So therefore you don't want to do it. But you probably have noticed I haven't stopped yet. So it's not really bothering me. So if you are one of those people think that, it's not really bothering me. And then you got to have a balance. So a balance between your family life, your home life. You've got to be able to find a balance. It's not about, and you see, when you find a balance, you can find harmony. Your relationships. I'm so blessed, married to a great lady. She's a pastor, and we got this whole thing going on. We got this blessed thing that's going on. And see, but we believe that. We believe that. And being able to find that balance, and then being able to making sure that if you have developed this mindset of success and you're doing, it's also about your behavior. So as a martial artist, if I'm out doing things I shouldn't be doing, and my parents see me doing those things, or if I'm saying things that I shouldn't be saying, all that goes into your behavior, because your parents, they're not going to be around long. The way that you deal with your children, the way you interact with your students. So behavior is a key. I look at behavior also in dress. How do you dress? Is your uniform clean? When you walk into the school, how do you look? Are you impressing a sense of prosperity to your students, to your parents? Because really, positive people want to be in that environment. So the three pillars of financial discipline, again, we're going back to, is purpose. Know your why. So that is really key. Make a big note of that. Knowing your why. If you cannot have your why, then your destination and your journey is going to be very short. Plan. Setting short and long-term goals and financial goals, that's what you really want to be. How many bills are you going to pay off this month? Sitting down and looking at your overall debt, and then determine how much money are you wasting. Now, that's a good point right there. How much are you wasting? Because you could be saving that. So that is a key. So your purpose, you got a plan, and then you have practice. Practice is a daily, the daily habits and the faith action. I believe, I'm not only am I a Christian that believes, but I believe that I was born for a purpose. And every day I'm walking to that purpose. And Kevin, you would know if every time you ask me, how you doing, Hanshi? What I always say,
better every day, right?
Trying to make the world a better place. So that is my, if someone catches me not saying that. So again, that affirmation, what are you saying to yourself? Are you trying to make the world a better place? What are you doing? Because if I am, I've getting ready to release book number 52. So I've written 52 books, but in actuality, there are 52 things that I was doing, and I needed to become better at it. So if I might as well write a book on it. Why not? I got 52 books, which represents 52 things I was doing. And that's what it really means. And so looking at how that martial arts discipline shapes your success, as an educator, that's what you are. You're also a coach. And again, don't forget, you got to be a business person so they can call you an entrepreneur. So, in a reflection, you want to master wealth until you cannot master wealth until you master yourself. So, Kevin, let's talk about the shift and change in one thing that leads to success.
Well, I actually, that's a great question, because I want to piggyback even on it with this and something you said. You talked about authoring books, and I have not authored 52, but I have authored 4, and on kind of different topics. Some on relationships, some on finance, and then just about growth in general. That difficult to demon book that I was talking about. But here's what I know through those writings is that is an interesting relationship when you write something. It's like almost like you own it. You have to own it now. If I go out and speak and write and talk about personal finance, I have to do a good job at personal finance, right? If I'm writing about relationships or health, I have to do good at that. And so by doing those things, by putting those things, and that's kind of where I want to go with that, I'm a firm believer. Simply the one thing with that is I believe what you focus on grows. That seems like a very, very simple concept, but the problem is sometimes we get to focusing on the wrong things. And I'll give you an example. Health is important to all of us. And I'll talk to people and they'll say, well, I want to lose some weight. I've been working on, I want to lose some weight. And I tell them, I say, careful. What you focus on grows. As you're talking about weight, we don't want our weight to grow, right? It says you got to change your language a little bit. You have to understand that we were putting that call out to the universe, and we have to be specific. You talked about goal setting and strategies. We have to be specific. So we have to say, you know what? I want to create a dietary program that's really going to help me be healthy. I had to create a physical workout system that's going to challenge my body. And those are the language and the things that we want to call upon ourselves. We want to have real change. So we know that what we focus on grows. The problem is sometimes we focus on, again, those things that are outside of our control. And when we're focusing on that, we're not going to get the results. So we have to be specific. We have to be very specific with our language, with our intentions, with our metric, with our goal setting, everything that we do. And you talked about, like you talked about with spending. What are we willing? Where are we wasting money? Right. And that's a great thing. And that's, in my opinion, even scratching the surface, because then you have to ask yourself, what am I willing to sacrifice in order to create this larger goal? My wife and I, when we did it, we had cable, and we decided, you know what? We don't want to pay for this cable. We're going to set that money aside and invest it instead. So for many, many years, we didn't even have television. And what happened was, okay, we didn't have the TV, but then we didn't sit around and watch TV then either. So now what are we doing with that time? Well, I don't know. Let's go to the seminar. Let's study this. Let's do this. Let's read this book. Let's do this. I mean, it's this overlapping thing that you have to ask yourself, what am I willing to sacrifice in order to get the things that I want as well? And when we ask ourselves that, when we start to challenge ourselves that, and I always tell people, if you really want real results in anything, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you can just do that and know that that's where real growth happens, that's where the real results happen, then we can have a profound change on not only the stuff in our own lives, but then the lives of others as well that mean a lot to us. So I think that what we focus on grows. So we have to be very, very, very careful of choosing that focus very intentionally.
Well, you were talking about the TV, and my brain is going, you need to get on down to the cable office because it's between my cable bill and my internet bill. Yeah. It's over $300 a month.
Yeah.
And we have 11 TVs, and the cable man comes in. How many is in your family? 2. And so, and so my wife and I, we were talking about that. Okay, so that's basically about $3,600 a month that we are actually spending on stuff we don't really use. Internet is the most major point. So we decided this past weekend, we're going to turn all of our cable in because, our TV, we're going to keep the internet, but, our TV, we have Roku.
Right. Sure.
And
Yeah.
because we have Roku, we got all these other networks and things and Netflix and everything else. So, all that is just there. So, we're gonna drop $3,600, right away over the next 12 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everything, I don't need that cable. So you have to look around and look at, your wealth management. Now, of course, she's already spent it. She's already looking at it. She just spent it.
Of course. Yeah.
I guess I shouldn't tell that. She may be listening.
Right. But that's the key point too. And I talk to people a lot of times. They tell me, they say, we are a self-made millionaire. I said, no, let me be clear. I'm a team-made millionaire. Because I tell people, if I can work with a couple, it's even better, because you got to be on the same page. I mean, the very first thing I did is I sat down with my wife and I said, look, this is what I want to do. And I said, not only that, we want to, if we're going to accomplish this together, it's going to come with some sacrifice, like I said. But on top of that, I said, there might be something that distracts us. So whatever you think we need now that we don't have, let's just buy it so it doesn't distract us. And she said, I can't think of anything. I say, cool, well, let's get to work. But you have to have that team unit. And so, and not poking fun of that situation, but if you save that 3,600, then it's already spent somewhere else and it's still a wash. But you got to have that team. You got to have that team. So, but that's a profound difference. So you take that same $3,600 that you saved in a year's time, and then let's say you're talking to somebody who's in the 20s and can save that. And then you tell them, now what's the value of that $3,600 invested over the next 30 years.
That's right.
Now, what are we really talking about? And that's what people need to understand, that time value of money, and understand that sacrifice was then well worth it. So all kinds of things surrounding wealth and decisions and our focus. So that's funny.
And that's what really, as we're talking today, think about around your martial arts school, your business, your home, what is it that you don't really need? Or technology is giving you another opportunity that you can now have a savings. That's the reason why having a good understanding of the business side of your martial arts. It's not how many katas you learn or how many you're teaching, because that's great, but you have to have the hat of the business owner, that you have the martial artist, sometimes the janitor, and the receptionist. So you got all these hats that you have to wear. So you want to become aware of all these things, and then you have to make a decision on how you're going to handle them, and you have to be disciplined. Martial artists are supposed to be some of the most disciplined people in the world. Well, I want everyone to understand that's what the concept that people think about you in high places, that you have your black belt, you have all this discipline. Well, you need to be able to transform all of those things into success. In the martial arts, we practice one kata 1,000 times. If you want to be a champion, you don't learn. You want to be a kata champion, you don't learn kata. You learn one kata and you master the kata. And you don't master the kata by going over the kata over and over. You master the technique in the kata. And if there's a downward block, then I master the downward block. If there's a high block or upper block, then I master the upper block. I master one thing at a time. And I master it and I work it and I videotape. I see myself from the outside in so that I master that. And then when I walk onto that tournament floor, then it's my attitude. So I've got my technique. I've got to bring my attitude. So remember, whether we practice that kata, one kata, 1,000 times, success in wealth follows the same principle. You got to master that discipline, just like that high block. You got to master your spending. You got to be able to master being aware of the opportunities. If you're sitting around in your martial arts school and you don't, I have a thing that I do, Kevin, and it's called Ask 10. I cannot end the day without asking 10 people, how can I service you? How can I make you better? So, it's like every day. So that means that there's a minimum of 50 people that I have to ask that question. How can I service and how can I make you better? How can I help you publish your book? How can I change your life? Because I don't want to just publish a book. I want to make you an international best-selling author.
Right.
then I want to take and help you to understand that that's just the beginning of your potential and of that possibility. So when we when we think about it, so Kevin, so exactly, what is that? What is that? How do you master, those small changes?
Well,
And how do you unlock the power of combining success?
Yeah, even as you were saying that, I was reminded. I read something one time. I don't even know what I read it in, but it was talking about the importance of saving. From a financial aspect, which no one can argue. Okay, we have to have a saving element to our thing. But it said even if you only save $10 a month, start doing that now. And I remember when I read it, I thought, well, that's just absurd. That's no amount of money. That's $120 a year. That's not really going to get you the results that I wanted, at least at the time. And it took me a while to realize that it's exactly what you said. It wasn't about the $10. It was about that habit and that process of putting that in place. Because anybody, and I challenge that. I think almost anybody could say, you know what, I could save $10 a month. But once you start that habit, then you start looking how to improve it. Well, maybe I could increase that, or maybe I could split that between two different investments, or maybe I can, there's so many things that we can do to build upon that simple habit. But the habit is what starts the process. Just like a kata, you have to learn the first move of the kata. And somebody says, well, I'm going to show you this move. Yeah, but the kata is 20 moves long. What am I going to do with this one move? Well, you still got to start with the first move. It's not an option. You got to start with something. But then once you get that and build on it, then you add the next move, the next move, the next move. And then, okay, great. You got the whole kata down. But yeah, now you're how many thousand times short of actually beginning to master it. So it's the same thing with finance or anything else we want to have success in. We have to figure out those small bites, and they may seem insignificant, but we have to know that real work is being done. And usually it's ironic because almost in a Pareto's law or an 80-20 principle, that first bite, that first step, is usually the hardest one. It's usually the hardest one because it just takes that action of you actually doing it. Everybody's got the ambition and the plan. Well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I always challenge everybody. I said, well, everything you're telling me you're going to do is stuff you're not currently doing. So look at it through that lens. Tell me what you're doing right now. And if it's small, so what? Let it be small. Build on the small. So I think that we have this idea that we have to, and just that we have to either, somebody that's made financial wealth, well, they hit it big or they got that lucky stock or whatever. I'll tell you, I share this. I don't like sharing this a lot, but I did a private equity investment with this company. And if it had come through, it would have been a game changer. I bought it at $4 a share. The plan was to go public at $80 a share. And I bought a lot. And the problem was it was in the restaurant industry and it was right before COVID. So not only did COVID have an impact, but there's some other things. I lost $250,000 on that investment. And believe me, I was not happy. But it also was $250,000. I was prepared to aggressively invest in that type of deal. Now, if it had come through, it'd have been great. But everybody thinks it always takes that one deal to change everything. No, my portfolio is still fine because I'm just still doing the very unsexy stuff, the dollar cost averaging, the trying to be efficient with how I can get the money out the door to how I can get it in the long term. Those are all the things. It's just the day-to-day, daily stuff that everybody doesn't give value because it's just what you're doing today. That's one of the demons I write about in the book, that inner voice that says we're always present to our own progress. We can practice our kata every day and feel like it's not getting better, but film it today and look at it a year from now. Now you're going to see real change. But when you do it today and you just did it yesterday, it doesn't feel any different. So it's the same thing with our investing. Just start, keep doing at it. It may not feel like you're getting anywhere, but give it that 10. I said I became a millionaire in 10 years, not 10 days, 10 years. Day 1, day 2, day 3, just kept working the plan. In fact, if I did the math, I probably wouldn't have set that ambitious of a goal because I still don't know how I did. I mean, I know how I did it, but I was like, man, that increased a lot, right? That's increasing my net worth $100,000 a year, every year for 10 years. Mm-hmm. I didn't even put that into the equation. I just said, this is what I want to do and did it. There was that goal. Work the goal, set the daily stuff, keep moving.
And for our listeners, this may be, that sounds really easy, but I don't know. This is where I am. I'm on the bottom and you want me to talk about being at the top. Why not? And, we as a competitor and, former world champion, I watched all the people that were better than me, so you got to have a model. I watched John Chung's, and as I had that desire to become better at what I was doing in the martial arts, and when we speak about kata, that is a pattern form in our mind, imagination that we're pretending and learning mentally how to adjust to an attack. And that's the same thing we have to do in finances. We have to practice being successful, just like in that kata, and someone's attacking me. I got to have that attitude to defend. I can't just put my hand up there. I have to have that attitude to defend. If I'm going to work on being successful, then I got to have that attitude about being successful. And as I used to watch John Chung and Cynthia Rothrock and all those people, and they didn't know me. I was just a nobody, I'm just another brown belt, black belt walking around. But as I began to watch them, I bought John Chung's video, and he's doing Destiny, and he's sticking those side kicks. Then I watched and studied everything on Bill Wallace, what he did. So I began to emulate these other people that already had what I wanted. I wanted to be a champion. I wanted to be just like Bill Wallace. I wanted to be like John Chung. And so that's what you really have to do. You have to emulate other successful people in order to be able to do that. So, I want to get to our big point. I mean, listen here, we got it's going to probably be a 50-minute program here, but man, we're not going to be able to cover everything we have down here. So, but I want to go to that model of that 5-step black belt blueprint model. Okay, Kevin, I've just made a decision right at that very moment.
All right,
we're gonna write this book. So
all right.
So everyone, watch out. Next year, Valentine's Day of 2026, this new book's going to be coming out. Kevin and I are going to partner on it. Why not?
Sounds like a goal and a specificity, and I'm also writing it down. So see, that's just how you put those things out there.
But that's what we're talking about. Things come together. We meet for a certain reason. Why did I meet you? Where are you living? What state are you in?
I'm in Kansas.
You're in Kansas. I'm in North Carolina.
Yep.
It sounds like the Wizard of Oz or something.
Yeah.
But that's powerful. But so that first, I'm going to go through the steps of that black belt blueprint model. You've got white belt. That's where everybody starts. So that is right now today on our program. We're handing you your white belt. That white belt is awareness.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. You don't have, you can get your white belt and write the word awareness on that belt. Okay. Put a sticky note, put awareness on there. That's where you are as a white belt. Now, to know your current financial reality. So that's where that white belt, you got to start by knowing, put all your bills together, find out what you don't have, find out what you need, and then find a solution to do that.
That's what I do in my course. It's one of the first things we do. We got to start with calculating our own net worth. We got to know where we are, where we're starting from, to know, and before we know where we're going to go. So yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah. And
then we go to that green belt. Okay. So green belt represents your growth. So learning and adapting new habits. So, you're not going to be able to move your wealth point with those same habits. So you're going to have to adapt some new habits. So you have to be conscious about those things. And then when you become, so we got white belt, you understand that is about your awareness. And this is where this formula works on everything. You have to know where you are, and you have to be uncomfortable in that situation to have that next growth part. Then we come up to brown belt. Brown belt, you're now entering mastery. You're now moving to that next level. And what you want to be now, you want to apply the consistency and the discipline daily. So now listen to what I'm saying here. So you got to be consistent. I cannot, you want to manage your weight, then you got to be consistent. You starve one day and then you eat a whole apple pie the next day. That's not consistent. I'm sorry. That is definitely not consistent. So you have to apply consistency, and you have to be able to develop that daily discipline. And black belt, oh yeah. Hey, listen, black belt. Black belt is freedom. Freedom means that now I'm achieving my financial and my spiritual independence. Now hear me again. Black belt is freedom, achieving financial and spiritual independence. Now, spiritual doesn't mean religion. Right. Spiritual, we are all spiritual beings. So we're not talking about, here he goes. You get ready to hit me with a religious thing. I need to go to church on stuff. You see, you're already a spiritual being. I don't have to tell you anything. You are already a spiritual being, and you want to find that to become independent as you work to your wealth. And then you have master belt. Everybody bows to you. I'm not even going to tell the story about that one. But master belt is your legacy. Yeah. Using your success to mentor others and give back. This is all I do all day. I have about 5 or 6 young men. We've got one young lady in that group that I mentor to every week. And it's free. I mean, it's free. I want to give you everything. That's like this program today. You may be donating to the foundation, but it's free. And then you have to connect to the Millionaire Mindset. And this is what my audio program, you can go to my website, which is www.coachjessie.bowen.com. I have several audio programs there. And one of my audio programs is about an hour meditation program, just broken down, but it's called a Millionaire Mindset. And here are the principles of spiritual prosperity. See, so now we're getting into the mind. So you have to understand what is spiritual prosperity. So that is a part of that. And then you have to have your community. So Kevin, why don't you share with us? We're getting ready to end our program. We've run out of time, but we want to make sure that we have some impact here for you. So why don't you share some tools for creating multiple streams of income and developing a wealth plan?
Yeah, a lot of people have jobs in W-2, and there's of course things you can do in that. But for myself, I went into some book publishing, and depending on there's varying outcomes of that. But that's been a very, very impactful part of my whole business planning. On top of that, I did some property stuff. I've done some, things within IRAs, and I've done some private equity stuff. I just did another one as well. There's all kinds of different things to do, but here's the thing I know. You want to do something that you're familiar with. Everybody gives value to those things that are outside of themselves. It seems foreign to themselves. That's where they think the value's at. I always use that as an example as the martial arts school. It's about efficiency. As martial artists, we look for efficiency and movement, right? Business and money should be the same thing as well. I went from paying after-tax dollars to a martial arts school to get taught martial arts. Then when I opened up my school, now people are paying me. Now, before I opened up the school, I went to tournaments, I went to trainings, and I paid for after-tax dollars with all that different stuff. Well, then when I owned a martial arts business, I'm still now doing all that same stuff. Only thing is now it's part of my business. So I got deductions on seminars, I got deductions on training materials, I got deductions on competitions, and then people start paying me. It's just a much more efficient model to do the thing that I already loved doing. So if you can find some way to figure out how to generate income and doing something that you love doing, you've hit the jackpot. You hit the jackpot. But you got to really believe in yourself and look at those options and know that you have value that somebody else is looking for. Anybody can get on YouTube. Look, I'm amazed at what you can find on YouTube now, because, people say, well, how do I do this? Oh my gosh, they actually have something on it. But people know that, hey, I know this and somebody doesn't, and they may want to know something about it. So we all have value that other people are seeking. The hardest person to see that is usually ourselves. So identify how you can give value to somebody and trust that you have that value, and figure out, hey, how can I be of service in this and make money at the same time? That's really the jackpot, in my opinion, right there.
I think that's really important, in multiple streams of income. So if you have just one stream of income, you can count that as good. And maybe that's your maximum part. So, you can become affiliate partners. In fact, the AMAA, we have an affiliate partner program. You help us to be able to sell books. You earn 15% of the revenue. So you got a lot of ways. And when I'm looking at a lot of AI and different products, I go to see whether or not they have an affiliate page, because I sign up for their affiliate page. And if it's good enough for me in producing, I want to share that with other people.
Sure.
So just by sharing, write a book and market the book. Writing a book does not mean that is an automatic income builder. You got to market your book. A book is a business.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, by the time you write 3 books, you can become a brand. And publishing is super hot right now. And if you don't believe it, I don't care if you like Fox News or you like CNN, everybody's got a book, especially on CNN. Everybody's got a book. That makes you an expert. You can stand out. Kevin and I, we're talking about, man, this stuff is good. We're going to do a book together. Because why? Not only a book, but we're going to turn this into some seminars, and we're doing some seminars, some online things, a little bit of. So you see, we just made a connection today to now consolidate our power of being able to speak together and find a topic that we both can connect to in doing that. Any last words, Kevin?
Well, just to kind of close with what you just said, not only that, but we can do that, but then have real value that we can provide to somebody else. I've said it before that, as soon as we get a better relationship with understanding that money is a tool to serve the things that are important to us in our life, that's when we start to really develop wealth, because too many times we don't know how to use that tool. So when we can figure out that it's a tool, money for the sake of money, so what? You're really not defining your purpose with that. What are you using that money for? How are you serving yourself? How are you serving other people? How are you serving your loved ones? That tool, the problem is, a hammer is a tool, and you give it to a skilled carpenter and they're going to create something wonderful with it. You give it to a crazy psychopath, they're going to cause some damage, right? And sometimes we're a crazy psychopath with our own tool of money. And so we need to be guided and understand. And that's what we're talking about providing. We're helping people understand how to have a better relationship with money and use it as a tool to serve things in their lives. So that's, you hit the nail on the head, pun intended, that we are going to be able to do that for people and give them real value in their lives.
Well, I'm excited. I'm always trying to find a way to make life better. And everyone, we were blessed to start Elite Publications going on 12 years ago. We're an international publishing company now. We've helped thousands of people to be published in books and helping them to be able to write and monetize their books. So if you're considering writing a book and you've got a good idea, then, let me know. You can reach out to our email, info@elitepublications.org. Go to our website, check it out, and that is www.elitepublications.org. Everybody's got a story.
And I've bragged on you guys because I've gone through a publishing company and I've self-published too, and I've worked with you guys on one, and you guys, top notch, very professional, very communicative. I've bragged on you guys more than you'll ever know. So it's top. And you ask Jessica, because I told her, she actually asked, can I get you to say that on video, please? I said, I'll be happy to. Absolutely. Because when you have people that are doing good things and it's a good experience, absolutely, you want to celebrate that, because that's not always the case with people. So I appreciate what you do.
And I appreciate that. But that's the thing about it is I'm not a publisher. I'm a black belt publisher.
Right. Sure.
I'm a master. I'm in that master stage and every day trying to build on that. So, and then, and I believe in myself. I believe I'm confident about who I am. One of my mentees, he's always saying, well, Hunter, you're always standing back. You're always checking people out. I'm going, if you want me to speak, I don't have any problem with doing that. But,
Right.
the key element is that I don't have to talk about me, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that faith into action.
Right.
And so when I put my faith in myself and what I'm doing, that black belt attitude, and I put it into action, this is where we go about building wealth. And this is where, we create a plan that's duplicatable. And that's what I'm trying to do in people, is duplicate the success I've had and try to duplicate it in someone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, this has been great, and everyone. So, remember, reach out to us. And again, you can go to my, hey, Kevin, what's your website? How can folks,
if you wanted to get it, it's just kevinwilsonconnection.org. kevinwilsonconnection.org. I'll be your connection, right? Remember that, kevinwilsonconnection.org. And it's got some contact info on me there, and some of your stuff too, I think. So that's yeah, if you want to reach out, email me. It's on there as well.
And everyone, again, you can reach me at Coach Jessie, Jessie Bowen.com. And this is where you can get the CD. So if you want that downloadable audio program, and the program is titled The Millionaire Mindset. And it's really helping you to lock the way you think and change your thinking. You see, change doesn't come from the outside in. Change has to start from the inside out. So that's what I really try to work with my clients, is helping them to be able to make the inner change. The outer change is easy. It's really getting inside and trying to make that inner change, and really make the world a better place. And we really hope that everyone really, that you got something out of our program today. We gave it to you from the love of our heart, of wanting to be able to share. So, hey, be blessed. And guess what? You can make the world a better day. One day at a time. Make it a better world. Think about something positive. Think about something nice. Always have that powerful mind that you can be a change in the game. Absolutely. Be blessed.